Welcome to the Intercut podcast, a weekly show going over the TV, movies, and entertainment that people can't cut away from. I am your co-host, Zachary Shevich, and joining me, hiding from the Cloverfield monster, it's Arturo Zurita.
How you guys doing? Hoping everyone's staying safe, staying cleanly, staying sanitized. I know we are, so much so that we've decided to record, as we always do, in separate states, just to do what people have been telling us to, social distancing.
Intercut invented social distancing.
We refuse to record otherwise. In the same room, never.
Yeah. Also joining us, he's making lockdown look good. It's the producer intern Fernando.
How you guys doing? Yeah, man, it's a little bit weird, but I'm always glad to be able to record this because we have the internet. So we're still bringing out the content.
Right. It's always going to be a little bit weird, maybe getting a little bit weirder on this edition of the Intercut, but we're glad to provide you maybe a little bit of distraction, maybe not a distraction, whatever it is. In a little bit, we'll be talking about movie studios responding to coronavirus, as well as our streaming recommendations, and the best picture winner of this century. But first, make sure you're subscribed to the Intercut podcast, either the video podcast on youtube.com/intercutpod or the audio feed available on most podcatchers, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those good things. Follow Intercut on social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We are at IntercutPod. That's at IntercutPod. That's short for podcast. Art, we're going to start the show the way we start it every week with what we are watching. But I know something that you've been watching. I did a little bit of Letterboxd snooping, and I saw that you caught an indie movie that I recommended on last week's show, Swallow.
Oh, loved it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. So it's on VOD, and I know that it premiered at Tribeca, and it's pretty much, as Zach had mentioned on one of the previous intercuts, it's the story starring Haley Bennett, who's married into this very, very wealthy family, and she's pregnant at this point, and she decides to swallow something and likes it. So she swallows more things and starts to have this condition of swallowing things. I thought it was a fantastic build-up, the atmosphere, the colors, the performance, and what it builds up to. Floored me. Maybe I'm a little too high on the Letterboxd thing. I really don't care. I was trying to get a point across, and that was that the ending was very, very, very effective for me. I don't want to say anything more. I think that's all, because it's a very tiny movie, but I think it's very intimate, and I think it also relates a lot to another movie we previously covered on the Intercut podcast not too long ago. But I really enjoyed it, and I would highly recommend it if you're at home. Catch that one on VOD. Another thing that I caught was On My Block Season 3. I don't know if you gentlemen have seen any of the series, but a lot of
I've seen your comment sections.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know one of the big questions that we had for the interview later is being answered right now when it comes to Season 3 of On My Block. I don't enjoy it as much as the previous seasons. They are relying very heavily, in a very interesting way, on fan service. Oh, now you're acting like that character. Because now they know that each of their characters are lovable cliches now. So that's like where the worry gets into. You know, it's Stranger Things runs into this. A lot of the big shows run into that when they start getting into Season 3. Even Dear White People has several lines, like the same joke repeated. Well, we gotta be different. What are we? Characters on Season 3 of a Netflix show? So every Netflix show tends to do that when they get to the third season. But this one has an ending where whether they continue or not, in my opinion, I'll leave it at they have to. If not, it is one of the worst endings. And I don't know if it's been picked up, because obviously a lot of other things are happening. Probably one of the worst endings to a series in a bit.
They're definitely going for that cliffhanger route.
Yeah, there definitely needs to be a Season 4. If there's not a Season 4, then... like Alina finished it because it's a pretty quick watch. She was like, what was the point of this season? They all end... Yeah. That's what I'll put. Not still entertaining like the other seasons, but nowhere up to the par of the other seasons. So I've been watching that along with 2001: A Space Odyssey since I've been holding on to that 4K for a while. And guys, that's a pretty good movie. 2001: Space Odyssey, highly recommend.
Haven't heard of it.
It's a little indie film, little indie space film.
It comes pretty highly recommended.
Mm-hmm. What about you guys?
Fernando, what have you been watching?
You know, it's like day, I don't know, like 5 or something like that. I took the dive and I saw a movie that's been getting has been in the discussion recently on like Twitter because of what's going on. So I saw Contagion. I think we'll be talking about that in depth.
All three of us.
First time ever seeing it. Pretty scary.
Yes, sir.
With its reflecting on what's happening. So after that, I was kind of in a down mood. So I ended up watching a comedy special on Netflix. I know that you're big into that. So have you heard of Alex Fernandez? It's called The Best Comedian in the World.
Alex Fernandez. Speak
Yes.
more about him as I search him up.
Yeah, so it's called The Best Comedian in the World, which is like pretty high praise to give yourself as a Netflix comedy special. It's only 50 minutes. He's a Mexican comic, and it takes the show takes place in Mexico and Mexico City, I believe. And he does it. It's in Spanish, so I was like, let me check this out because I'm Mexican. Let's see how he does. And it's like semi-autobiographical. It gets pretty deep. Like he gets into some pretty deep personal traumas and experiences, but obviously turning it into comedy. And I found it really effective. As someone who grew up Mexican, a lot of the jokes did hit home a lot more. So I'm wondering if for you they would do the same thing. Obviously, not everyone's going to relate to it as heavily as I did. But I think it was a good comedy special. I mean, it made me laugh. I don't think it's the best comedy special I've seen. But, for people like Latinos out there who want to see something in Spanish, I think it's a pretty good watch.
Yeah, I haven't seen this
Provided
guy.
that pick-me-up you were looking for.
Yeah,
After
it did,
Contagion, especially
Yeah.
after Contagion. You said it was 50 minutes, and that is it all stand-up, or does he cut away to other stuff?
No, it's all stand-up.
I respect that. I have to check it out. I've actually seen the thing pop up, but I haven't. If I recommend one for you, stand up. Franco Escamilla, that dude is so
Spanish?
funny. Oh yeah, and all of his stuff is like on Netflix because I think he's got to deal with them. This dude is the real deal, and his is all fully in Spanish. I'm gonna recommend him to you since you brought up that other guy. He is hilarious.
Is he like an older guy?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit, because this guy's like pretty young. Like he's like in his 20s, I think. So
yeah, I was looking at that. I was trying to see if that was him because I forgot the other guy's name, but. Some good stand-up specials on Netflix.
Yeah.
Especially because Netflix had that Netflix is a joke thing when they were finally going to go like, you know what? We're not staying indoors. We're going to go out. Oh, coming back in. So.
Yeah. Plenty of stand-up, hopefully, to keep you company right now on Netflix. As for what I've been watching, I've been trying to take a dive into some classic films that either I haven't watched or I just haven't watched in a while. I feel like a lot of times you come to a classic movie maybe a little bit too early and you need to give it another evaluation. And I rewatched The French Connection on Hulu. Okay. It's streaming right now. And man, that is a just beautifully done, such a well-paced and well-put-together movie. It's one of those things that's kind of funny when you are more acquainted with something that's a little newer and then you go back and you feel like, oh, I see why Breaking Bad is assembled that way. They got it from this movie. The way that the chase scenes in particular play out in such kind of like it just feels so real in how non kind of like showy some of it is. It just it feels like a lot of running, a lot of narrow turns between cars. It just there's an electricity to the way that movie moves, and the build is just unbelievable in that movie. So I liked it a lot on the rewatch. I hope other people get to catch up with that one. Something a little newer, though. Have you guys watched the first episode of the new season of Westworld?
Westworld? No, I was not able to. I saw so much stuff trending that Sunday, and it was worrisome because I thought every single actor who was trending had gotten coronavirus, and they were had just appeared on the show, and every single one was the amount of times I saw this gif of Denzel was ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
I heard it was crazy though. Better than season 2's?
It was. I mean, not just crazy because of like all the new faces who show up between Aaron Paul, John Gallagher Jr., Palm Clemente, just like they're shuffling the deck here in a really crazy way. But it's a huge sort of reboot for the series as well. We've spent 2 seasons entirely in Westworld, in the parks, in this Delos creation, and season 3 sort of breaks us out into the larger world, into what society what a society that would produce a place like Westworld might look like. And I think
Interesting.
in some of the more focused material that Westworld has had, they've had a lot of time off between seasons, and you can tell they've been really thinking about how to give this show some more direction. I think we both talked about Westworld Season 2 and found it to be meandering for a lot of it. Just kind of like lost in its own puzzle in a way that wasn't as engaging as we wanted it to be. Mm-hmm. And I expect this season might be a little bit more direct in the way that it deals with this conflict. There's moments that actually made me laugh. It wasn't quite as self-serious as it always is. And I'm into some of the new characters they're introducing. I'm into Aaron Paul's new character in this world, and I can kind of see an interesting way for him to progress alongside these robot storylines. So I don't know. I thought I was done with Westworld after season 2. I might be back in.
They got you.
I don't know. They got me at least for one more week, or maybe a couple more weeks, because it's pretty interesting.
I would say they got you between 4 to 8.
Yeah. At least maybe 6 to 12.
Maybe 6 to 12.
So we'll see. But hopefully you guys join me in future weeks. Maybe if we're doing these intercuts weekly, we can give updates on Westworld as it progresses through the season.
Well, Steph, I just wanted to back up on your French Connection one because our good friend of the show, CinemaTile's got a fantastic breakdown on the movie.
Right.
And it doubles up on everything that Zach was telling you, because like when Zach was praising the car chase scenes, okay. No, like, CinemaTile's got a whole video on the breakdown of what they did and why it still lives up to this point. So I just wanted to second that. And then I agree with you. I think Westworld is coming out at a crazy but perfect time for when it comes to streaming and when it comes to watching something on a weekly basis. As crazy as that show is as well. So.
Absolutely. Well, let us know what you've been watching in the comments on YouTube or by shooting us an email. The address for that is intercutpod@gmail.com. We're going to move on to the yay or nay, where we break down the latest happenings in entertainment. And not a whole lot going on, but there are a couple things we do want to talk about, particularly with movie theaters across the U.S. and around the world closing. Some studios are shifting their focus to the at-home market. NBC Universal got the ball rolling by revealing that not only will it release The Invisible Man, The Hunt, and Emma on Friday, March 20th, even though they've all only recently been put into theaters, but they'll also be releasing the upcoming Trolls World Tour on VOD on April 10th, the same day that it's set to hit whatever movie theaters are open. So, Art, yay or nay, these shortened release windows will have a long-term impact on the way that film industry strategizes their releases.
Halfway through, because even Universal, like, they're not doing this for F9. You know, you and I are very optimistic. Not that it's not going to change, and it definitely has within the previous years. Just covering, through Intercut, we have seen the changes when it's come to film festivals and streaming, and now when it's come to something, in this scenario where movies are coming out. I think if you would have put it at a $10 price point, I was looking at a lot of mathematicians who were trying to break down at $10 because it's $19.99 for the movies that are going to roll out this Friday. It's $19.99, still unspecified for Trolls. Just for 48 hours to rent it. That's it. That's all it is. People said, make it $10 and boom, that's it. You might as well just tell theaters to close down now, especially because they're being hit right now with 3 months of not being able to work. And again, this is a scenario that's going to be developing even more and more. But I think it's definitely going to be a massive shift, because the only thing that's coming with these upcoming months is even more streaming services. HBO Max comes out in May. Quibi comes out right around the corner as well. And we are definitely living in a time where, for the foreseeable future, our source of entertainment is going to change. So
right, yeah. No, I think it's a good point that you make, bringing up Fast 9, because while Trolls World Tour is a movie that the first movie in Trolls made, I think
It's a lot.
$300-something million globally.
Big.
The last Fast and Furious movie made $1.2 billion. That's playing in a different league. And people who are saying, maybe Mulan will come out on Disney Plus, maybe Black Widow will come out on Disney
No.
Plus. I think it's still going to be some time before companies put those huge movies there. But Trolls coming out into a market where kids are home from school anyway. This is actually kind of a shrewd business decision.
It's smart.
I kind of doubt how much of a long-term impact this necessarily will have on the way that studios release movies. I think, if anything, they're just realizing this is the best route to make money right now.
I also think that it proves that they're full of it. Disney has not released any other movies early. They have delayed some of their stuff, but they have not been proactive in Star Wars was supposed to come out on Tuesday, and they're like, we'll release it magically for free. And everyone has screenshots. Frozen 2, it says contractual obligations, cannot release it. Guess they can. So that's an interesting point to see. And I just throw it out there. One of the biggest reasons why they were it wasn't until today. We tend to record on Mondays. It's Tuesday. It was barely announced right to the wire. One of the last ones was Black Widow being moved. They didn't want to move it because, it's May 1st. It's one, starting the summer season, and two, it is the beginning of Phase 4, if I'm not mistaken, meaning that it's going to carry on the entirety of it. So, how many Marvel movies do we have, Fernando?
Out right now?
How many have been out? Yeah.
21.
Can we get one?
Yeah.
That's when it gets a little y'all want to talk like we're family. 21 movies in theaters. We supported every single one. Can we get one?
Yeah.
That's what I'm confused about. Why not?
Marvel got lucky that this year they only got 2 coming out.
And it's Black Widow. No offense. But
yeah, Black Widow and Eternals, right? Other years they've had
well,
3.
that's the thing is that
So.
If Black Widow isn't in theaters, this might delay or the release of any of those Marvel TV shows as well, because Marvel is a company that very much cares about that continuity. I don't know.
Are you worried?
Sorry?
Are you worried? It might put your iPic
About
theaters
what?
out of theater. Your iPic theaters out of business.
iPick is still showing movies right now.
really?
They got showtimes tonight. I can go watch Invisible Man right now if I feel like
I mean, you got to pay $47 per arm rest, but yeah.
Exactly. It'll be cheaper to wait till Friday
Yeah.
and get the $19.99 rental, even though that's more than most people want to pay. I saw some people also debating that price point. I mean, if we're talking about a brand new movie, that's, as long as you got one person else in the house with you, that's a pretty decent deal, no?
Yeah,
exactly.
I think
I agree.
Interesting. Yeah, I think it's interesting. One, at least the way I look at it, I come from the perspective of, and other people also have this perspective, the people who have the what's it called? The service with the theaters, like AMC A-List and Regal Unlimited.
Yeah.
I pay $20 a month, and I could go see all 3 of those movies in the same day, and then go the next day and see them again. So it's would I want to pay $20 for Emma or Invisible Man? It's also movies that personally don't interest me. Now, I think something we're going to touch on in a bit is A24 and what they're going to decide to do with their movies. So if you want to transition,
True.
Yeah, so A24 is sort of pivoting in the other direction, whereas a lot of movies are considering their move to VOD. A24 has pledged that they will re-release Kelly Reichardt's film First Cow in theaters later this year or whenever things clear up and people are ready to return to the movie theaters again. So, yay or nay, do you guys feel like this is a significant move on A24's behalf?
No.
yeah.
So South by did roll out something to be able to see their movies. I went to South by last year, so I know what this site looks like and how many were hosted on there. I was surprised last year when the festival was going on, pretty good amount. This year, when you would think they needed the most, I haven't been able to even talk to Zach about this yet, there is nothing. But I'm not even talking about the selections. I'm talking about categories are just missing. There's nothing to fill out those. The category's not even available on the thing. So I don't know what happened there in the midst of indies just because we know this, some indies need to be shown in the screening, and we've had times where we're like, yo, can we get a screening link to this? And they're like, no, we need you to be in the theater because of the optics or whatever else. And to this, Zach, I have talked about these movies for the last 2-3 years. They never end up going. So I'm concerned. A24 doesn't have this worry, but a lot of other independent people. I'm very curious what they're going to do, because right now there was an opportunity through South by, not some third party. South by itself is the same site from last year, is allowing critics to be able to watch the movies to still bring some coverage, and it seemed like some opted out. And A24 has the ability right now to be able to release digitally for the people who watch independent films already as introverts, and they're not. And I'm confused. First Cow already wasn't doing okay, so why delaying it? When we finally go to the movie, people are going to go like, finally, after 3 months, First Cow. I'm confused. This is the perfect time to release it.
Well, I think for some people, there is an excitement around going to see a movie like that in a movie theater. And you look at how Lulu Wang embraced the theatrical release for her movie and was able to, I feel like, get a lot of more attention because that movie spent some time in theaters rather than just getting buried on a Netflix. Like, there are certain movies that benefit from getting that time in theaters, from having that build up, from getting word of mouth, and especially right now when there isn't necessarily a lot of focus on like a very like challenging and smartly done indie new release. Like, I don't know if that's beneficial to Kelly Reichardt or A24 to just dump the movie onto streaming.
But the competitive market it has to come back with. F9 has no problem moving itself for another year. Neither does any of the bigger movies. Now you're going to compete in indie with the other indies who are already going to take that place. That's my only... But I say it goes both ways. I feel you. It goes both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like,
we'll see.
I'd be more willing to drop $20 right now to watch First Cow. Mainly because, one, I'm more interested in it, and two, even if it was only in theaters, if theaters were open right now, I don't know if it would get to where I live for like another like month or 2 months, right? LA and New York is like, they're good, they got all the premieres and all the limited releases, but like how long before the limited releases end do like all the other cities get it, right? So I'd be willing to drop $20 for First Cow.
Yeah, well, there are some indie movies that are also making that pivot to VOD. I got an email about a movie called Dosed, which was supposed to have a theatrical release, I want to say, next weekend, the 27th. And that movie is instead pivoting to a VOD release. Another movie, Bull, is going to be on VOD on May 1st. So there are some indie movies that are trying to fit into that that at-home marketplace as well. I just, A24 it seems to be making a place for itself as an indie distributor that does really care about their theatrical distribution. So just won't be from that company, I guess. We have to wait for Minari and Zola, unfortunately.
Neon! Hulu!
So, not much in terms of movie news, but we've got some more topics to hit in our next segment, the interview, where we answer questions posed by you, the Intercut viewer. So be an Intercutie and send us your question by leaving it in the comments on YouTube or hitting us up on social media at IntercutPod. We've got a few subjects suggested to us. Cine Thoughts asked, first of all, who is going to thrive the most among streaming services due to coronavirus?
I don't know if you guys have...
So, I mean, it depends on, probably on your definition here. I would assume, like, the easy answer has to be Netflix.
Yeah.
It's the one that is in most homes. It's the one that is synonymous with stay at home and watching things. You can joke about Netflix and chill, but it's kind of the way that we use Google in place of search. That's what Netflix and chill is for the at-home experience. So I feel like just dominating people's form of entertainment is going to be a good place for Netflix. But as you mentioned, there's a few new services that'll be launching probably in this window, and what better time to launch an at-home streaming product than when everybody is locked down at home. So maybe this is good news for Quibi or HBO Max or what have you.
Could be, but I second your thing with Netflix because we already have it. or have somebody's password who has it. So that's why I feel that it's only ranges to grow. And in a period where I think a lot of people are concerned financially, why are they going to tack on another $4.99 or another $9.99? For these extra services that will be coming out. Everybody already has Netflix, and they know the stuff that it provides. And this isn't a United States lockdown; it's a world lockdown.
Right,
and I think Netflix provides the most international movies out of everything. If I were to go quality-wise, it'd always be HBO. It's been HBO. HBO's been here since the longest time. They just started creating it. They just turned it into streaming. And HBO, I think, has the ability with their upcoming reboots and the licensing that they have to do well. Disney, again, I don't think should be dropping the ball here. With all of their movies slated to come out, and we don't know how long it'll last, but with the movies they have finished, ready, some would say, in the vault, and also all the Fox properties. They have the ability, and all the DVD releases that were set to come out. They have so much content to put on a streaming platform that if we were to argue if anybody were to add another one on, I would say it's Disney Plus over Peacock, over Quibi, over even HBO Max, because I think the people who have I still don't know how the people who already have HBO are gonna, however that works, but you get what I mean? I think Disney Plus has the ability, if they're smart enough, to really come out as the winner here, but safe bet is Netflix.
Yeah, my one hesitation with Netflix is just looking ahead at the next month or two of Netflix releases. There was nothing that really stood out to me as particularly buzzworthy. We are getting season 3 of Ozark, which is fairly popular. The one thing that I do think is going to be surprisingly popular is I think season 4 of Money Heist will be premiering early in April, and I know that's an international huge
get it recommended
hit.
all the time.
Maybe it's time for all of us to
start watching Money Heist.
Get into Money Heist. Yeah,
I've been getting that recommended to make a Let Me Explain since year 1. It is ridiculous, and any Spanish-speaking thing, including Roma, I get it for Elite, but even Roma, it's so since you're here, can you also do this other Spanish show? So I guess it's finally come. The time is here.
You know what else? The time has come, I think. The anime. I think anime is gonna be blowing up. Don't you?
Because there's so much of it to watch.
Yeah, but there's so much of it to watch, but people have nothing to do.
The perfect time for filler.
Yeah.
We need something to fill in the time.
If coronavirus can't get me to watch anime, I don't know if anything will ever get me to watch anime.
Bogus. Start with Avatar: The Last Airbender. Start with that, and then we'll carry it from there.
KB came through with a very interesting question. Which mental illness do you think gets the worst representation throughout entertainment? KB mentioned that bipolar disorder is often depicted in a cartoonish way, and I can totally agree with that one. Just sort of thinking a little bit about the question, one that occurred to me is schizophrenia, which, I don't personally know anybody who's dealt with schizophrenia, but just based on my consumptions of entertainment, it's got to be at least 50% serial killers and 10% whatever James McAvoy is in Split.
I had the same thing.
Yeah, I would actually be quite interested to see a more real depiction of schizophrenia, and I don't know the movie that has that. Maybe an InterQD knows and can leave it in a comment.
Yeah, like you said.
Jay Forbes wanted to.
I was just backing
you don't have
up.
any more?
I was backing up, like you said. If you think schizophrenia in movies and you automatically think, oh, what bad guy twist was that? Then they've been depicting schizophrenia wrongly.
So Jay Forbes wanted to know if we had any uplifting or feel-good pieces of entertainment to recommend binging. Funnily enough, I just had a piece published out in Time Out magazine about the best uplifting options on streaming. So got some options on Hulu, on Amazon, on Disney, on Netflix for you, including I think Shawshank Redemption is on my list, Ratatouille on my list, Justice for Ratatouille. Even Good Will Hunting or Brittany Runs a Marathon, I feel like are great uplifting options. And if you're looking for something more along the TV route, I feel like Parks and Rec or just anything Mike Schur has worked on tends to have a lot of feel-good stuff going on there. What about you guys? Any uplifting, feel-good recommendations?
Yeah. Easy one is always Paddington 1 and 2. Get you through anything. Also, two of my other favorite uplifting ones, Blinded by the Light, which came out last year, Don't know if it's on any streaming service. And then Sing Street. I love Sing Street, and that's one of my most uplifting movies.
Have
Good options. Good options.
Whiplash, Savages, Contagion, all the good stuff. But no, my own personal ones would be I just love Space Jam. And now it's on Netflix, so I do feel reason to actually bring it up because it counts as a streaming flick. Right. It's one of those perfect combinations of I have my own bias to it, but honestly, it's the movie you could watch as an adult with kids and then still be like, how did they let half that stuff slip in? There's an NBA lockdown scene that's very prevalent now as well. Mm-hmm. But another one, if we're going to some Hulu streaming, we always, our go-to shows there have always been Broad City and Gumball. The Amazing Life of Gumball. And they're both really short and just crazy scenarios. One being overly cartoony, but still very, very intriguing and entertaining. And then the other one being... A trek through New York, which, if you wanted to travel with two broads around the city of Manhattan, then you got that. And it always finds a way to make us laugh. So those would be my picks.
Yeah. I know this is the opposite of the answer to the question, but if I can just throw Contagion out for one quick second. We are living in a time where things are confusing and there's a lot of unknowns. And if you're somebody who has an anxious, overworking mind, the thing that I like about Contagion is it's kind of this is a version of a reality that now feels oddly familiar, and theirs looks a lot worse. Yeah. So in that sense, it actually kind of centered me a little bit, and it just I feel like it made my thoughts a little clearer.
I agree with you.
So if that sounds like it's appealing to you, I want to throw out Contagion out there as a weird, perversely feel-good option.
Yeah. Because it makes you...
Does not feel good.
Makes you reflect on what you have. I'll even double it by saying that in the movie, when they show the supermarkets, all the water's gone, including the Dasani. So that's how you know that it's actually a fictional movie. And then in the real life, things may still have hope. So Contagion. Out on Showtime? I think. Max?
Cinemax. Yeah. But you can do the free trial on Amazon. And that's what I did. Have we seen Beasters? Have we seen Kingdom? Have we seen On My Block Season 3? Have you seen The Long Goodbye? Have you seen Elite Season 2? Have you seen New Amsterdam? Have you seen Jexy? Have you seen Mr. Robot Season 4? There's a lot of stuff out there.
I've seen...
And even on lockdown, it's hard to get to
all those things. But I've been hearing good things about some of them. Probably Zombies isn't the thing people want to watch right now. But there's a lot of stuff out there.
Yeah, we will try to get to a lot of it.
Hey, we have time now. We have time now for sure.
Yeah, we got to do it one at a time. Please be patient with us.
Starting with Jackson.
Lastly, Orange Ape wants to know what we think the best performances in bad movies are. My mind went to the idea of this type of performance, the quote-unquote important performance that we get in some Oscar-winning movies. The ones that come to mind for me are Julianne Moore in Still Alice, or Matthew McConaughey in Dallas Buyers Club, where it's kind of they're depicting something that is so important, like Alzheimer's, such a heartbreaking thing. And the movie around it is just kind of bad and bland and doesn't make you care.
Yeah. Another one that along those lines was I just had her from the Good Wife. What's her name? She was supposed to win.
Glenn Close. Glenn Close.
Yeah. Got nominated. Was supposed to win. Ended up not winning.
I had recently, there was a TIFF movie called Hope Gap, and while I didn't think it was that bad, it was based off of the director's parents' divorce. Ended up getting a 48%, 50. Something. I know I ended up rotten, but I really liked Annette Bening's performance in it. I thought she was pretty good, so that's a more recent one. One of the past decade ones that comes to mind, if I wasn't going off of what Zach said, a Oscar performance, a technical more side of thing, I'd say Fassbender in the Alien movies. I think that he is committed to being a robot, even if they have him saying lines like fingering himself. I think he is fully committed. It's just the script and everything around it is trying to... It's a series that's trying to be everything, and I think he's the only one who gets closest to being everything that he needs to be. But I will also throw one out for The Identical. And it's not a great performance, It's like a Wiseau performance. It's so bad it's good. It's a guy who's clearly 38 playing himself from the age of 15, 18, 21 all the way up to 35. And if that's not commitment, I don't know what is, guys. I don't know what is. I think it's on Netflix.
All right. We'll have to check that one out. Make sure to leave us a question in the YouTube comments or by emailing us, intercutpod@gmail.com, to get it featured on our next show. You can also reach out to us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. Our handle for that is @IntercutPod. That's @IntercutPod, short for podcast. Be an inner cutie. Send us your movie, TV, and entertainment questions. But for now, we'll go on to our topic of the week, a continuation of March Movie Madness, however you want to order those words. We asked Twitter to help us out with this one because we are looking at the best Oscar Best Picture winners of this century so far. Problem is there are 19 Oscar winners for Best Picture this century so far, and our bracket only works with 16 movies, so we wanted to remove 3, and according to Twitter, 2 were really clear. Y'all did not want Green Book or Crash competing in this bracket. I did not either, so thanks for backing me up. It was a much closer call for the third movie. Chicago got 7 votes. The King's Speech got 8, but Argo got 9 votes. And that's the movie that we will be eliminating from the Best Picture bracket. So the remaining 16 movies are being seeded according to how recently they won Best Picture. That means that Parasite is the movie that gets the number 1 seed, and that's the place that we'll start in the 1 through 16 matchup. Parasite versus A Beautiful Mind.
Well, I'll say the farewell for A Beautiful Mind.
Yeah.
Ron Howard.
What do you guys think about Beautiful Mind? What do you like? What do you like about that movie?
Yeah, reading it off here, it's the story of John Nash, and I know that it's based off of the book of his life and how he had his mental I can't remember exactly what it was. But I know he had a mental condition, and that's literally what the movie plays off of.
I think he had schizophrenia.
There you go.
I think, yeah.
And I believe that's one of those movies, when you look back at it, a lot of the condition is used as a story element device, which I believe, you know, as more time goes on, gets looked back on as being as less of a positive thing, I would say. I really do enjoy this movie, though. I remember when it had won, and I was like so excited to go rent it at Blockbuster and like figuring out what it was about. I thought it was a great performance by what's his name, Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe.
Yeah, and I remember it being the movie that made me go like, an actor can direct a movie. And it just blew my mind, especially with being a guy who was in a sitcom. You know, it wasn't even like a movie actor. It was a guy from the sitcom. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have anything else to add to it.
Yeah,
Beautiful Mind is... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I remember my experience with A Beautiful Mind is, I think I've seen this movie like 3 times throughout school. Like, a lot of my teachers would play this movie because it's like about like education, or he's like a scholar. So this was like a movie that I saw.
That sort of counts as educational.
Yeah. And since it's like, you know, that very Oscar baity kind of movie. So yeah, I remember seeing this a couple of times throughout my life growing up, and I agree with Art. I think it's a really good performance by Russell Crowe, but I definitely wouldn't say it's one of the best picture winners that stand out from the century, unfortunately.
Yeah, for me, this is a movie that I remember mostly in moments when he's debating what's real and what's not. I remember specifically later in the movie he asking people whether or not you can see the person that he's talking to, because he's dealing with that lack of knowledge of what's real in his life or not. Also some of the moments in which you see his genius and he does the math problems. I remember specifically that thing about guys going after a girl and how he relates that to probability and just the way that's broken down. Those are fun sequences, but we all like Parasite a lot, and we like that movie from beginning to end. So I feel like this is an easy choice for us. We're going to go Parasite.
Roger Deakins shot A Beautiful Mind, though, so there is that. And I think Akiva Goldsman was still good.
Doing good.
He was okay. Yeah, he was all right back then.
That's the first movie that I can think of where I remember seeing somebody write on glass.
Yeah.
to make it
Okay.
look
So
like
I
they
didn't
were
want to
Yeah,
say it
yeah.
because I didn't want to sound like an idiot. But I was like, every time I see like a mathematician or any college professor writing up on the glass, I always because it's the cover. It's the cover to A Beautiful Mind.
Yeah.
So hey, at least I got that. Roger knew what he was capturing. Lives on in our minds.
The 2 through 15 matchup is The Shape of Water versus Chicago. So Guillermo del Toro's relatively recent Best Picture winner, the colloquially referred to as the fish fucking movie, up against the most recent musical to win the Best Picture award, with an eclectic cast, including the recent Oscar winner Reese Witherspoon. Where are you feeling this one, Art?
Renee Zellweger, you meant.
Are you sticking for your city?
I am going Chicago. I am not gonna lie. You're also forgetting that it has John C. Reilly's in it, and he does a fantastic job in Chicago.
It does.
I don't have anything against The Shape of Water. It was not my favorite of that year. I'm not saying Chicago was either, but I do think that Chicago has because we studied it in school. To be super cliche about it, and I do like the artistry behind Chicago a lot, and I would edge it out just a little bit over The Shape of Water, just a little bit, and I don't think it matters because. Go ahead. Go ahead. I know y'all don't like Chicago. It's fine. I've invited y'all to my city multiple times. Y'all never want to come.
We privately debated having Chicago be the third movie we knock off of this list before we turn to Twitter.
And I fought for it to be.
Yeah, Fernando and I don't like the movie as much. I'm not a huge Shape of Water fan, but I do think it has a charm, and it's very unique. And I don't know. I don't feel as strongly about Chicago's features. I don't know.
I feel you.
Yeah. Chicago's just a movie that I'd say doesn't stick with me that much. And I was gonna say I think it's the only musical, unless you want to count the artist a little bit. So the fact that it's like the only musical in this bunch, there's like way better musicals that have come out in the century. I actually really like The Shape of Water. I know it got like a little bit of flack like after time passed since it won Best Picture. I think it's beautiful. I know it's referred to as the fish fucking movie. I mean, I have a poster on my wall. I know with the new angle.
It's a funny way of talking about it, but it is a very reductive take on a movie that is pretty complicated.
And when you think about it, it's like we always give the Academy like a lot of shit for not going towards genre movies, and this is like a genre movie. You know, it's Guillermo del Toro making a monster movie like he likes to do, giving it like a twist. It's like a romance and like a thriller also in a sense.
Period piece all wrapped in one.
Yeah. I love what's her name? Sally Hawkins's performance. I actually like she would have been my pick, like to do like a mute performance like that. She gives it her all. So I actually really like The Shape of Water. So, and it's going through.
All right. So 2-1, we're going with Shape of Water here. The 3 through 14 matchup is Moonlight versus Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. The budget disparity is astounding here.
Just a little bit.
And the thing is, I feel like people who would pick one over the other, like strongly feel like they go one over the other, would not hear any argument about the other one. Like,
oh, definitely.
It's great way to opposite tastes too.
Yeah.
With that said, Moonlight.
My taste is firmly in the Moonlight camp. I've never been a Lord of the Rings guy.
Really?
I'm also not
What is it with
fantasy
you?
guy.
Zach, like the thing with you is like we're about to make it through, right? Moonlight. All right, let's go on to the next one. But you can't you gotta. And screw Lord of the Rings. Why can't you just say, you know what? Just Moonlight guy. Now all the Lord of the Rings fans are gonna be out at us.
Come at me on Twitter.
You know, surprising though. And there's like 5 or 6 people that said Lord of the Rings should be one of the ones eliminated.
Know.
And I was very surprised.
Because they were baiting, they knew.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm also going to go Moonlight. Just out of, if I don't, Andres, my roommate, would beat the hell out of me. But Return of the King is my favorite of the Lord of the Rings. I just think I love fantasy, and I love the epic scale. And every now and then, I'll just randomly rewatch them storming Sauron's like fortress, and then Viggo Mortensen's like for Frodo. I love that scene, and they all charge. And yeah, just the finale is so good. Whichever of like the 5 versions you watch, it's so good.
All the endings that they have.
Yeah.
And it is always cool thinking back how Lord of the Rings, with the first one, they made it up there. And the second one, they made it. And it wasn't until that third one that they came in and it was their ceremony. So, yeah. The Moonlight.
Moonlight. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for that last Lord of the Rings movie to end. But Moonlight makes it on through. And the 4 through 13 matchup, Spotlight versus $1 Million Baby.
Let's go.
The Tom McCarthy journalism movie versus Clint Eastwood's boxing and euthanasia movie. Is that the right word? It probably isn't. I've never really been a big $1 Million Baby fan. I find it to be like a little wooden, and I also am not a fan of just like the way it's lit. I think that's such a dark movie. There's a period there where between $1 Million Baby and J. Edgar, he was making his movies like in darkness, basically. Yes. Yeah, I just think Spotlight's is a really effective journalism drama. It's not like a spectacular movie, but I like it a lot, and I definitely like it more than $1 Million Baby.
Fernando?
Yeah, again, $1 Million Babies. One of the ones where I'm like, did that win Best Picture? Oh, I guess it did. Eastwood just has a weird directing style. Even in his like most recent movies, this man is like all over the place. And $1 Million Babies just isn't one of my favorites from his. Where Spotlight, I think, is a very effective movie. I remember when it came out and seeing it, I was like blown away by it. But now after time has passed, I think it's still a very good movie, and the way they depict journalism seems really real. Really great ensemble cast with like who's in it? What's his name? Keaton.
Mark
Michael
Ruffalo,
Keaton's
Michael
really
Keaton.
good.
Yeah, and
Ruffalo's
Rachel
really
McAdams.
Liev Schreiber, who's a really underrated actor, I think. It's good ensemble, good movie.
I am a person who really enjoys $1 Million Baby. I do agree that the lighting, I don't know what the heck he was doing during that time. But I am a big fan mostly of Mystic River. Around this time, I was really big into Clint Eastwood's directing, and I really enjoyed Mystic River. That year, though, it should have been Marty's. The Aviator should have run over $1 Million Baby. And I also believe, look at all these, right? Mad Max, The Revenant. I would put Mad Max. Mad Max should have won the year over Spotlight, but for this one, I think it's all 3 flush Spotlight.
Yeah. All right, so Spotlight's going to move on to the next round. The 5 through 12 matchup, it's a really strong matchup here, I think. Birdman versus The Departed. We're going with Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu's one-shot Broadway showbiz drama comedy versus the movie that finally won Martin Scorsese his directing Oscar. And I know a lot of people diss The Departed, but I think I'm going with Scorsese here.
But you hate Birdman. I think you were on record as saying that Birdman.
Yeah, I clearly hate Birdman so much that there's a video of me on YouTube naming it my favorite movie of the year that it came out, and that's the year that Boyhood.
Why do you hate it?
And
Whiplash,
Nightcrawler, and Whiplash came out. I don't know if I still stand by that opinion, but I do. I like Birdman. I think The Departed is a really, really interesting, engaging movie. I just love the back and forth of hidden identities and the cast. Speaking of ensemble cast, that is a stacked cast. I don't know. I like The Departed a lot.
Fernando?
I'm going Birdman. I think Birdman is an insane movie. It's so good. It was pretty sure it's my favorite movie that year also. Just a one-shot Lubeski cinematography. Very different than like 1917 one-shot per se. Another very insanely good ensemble cast. I think Michael Keaton. I forgot who won that year, but I think Michael Keaton.
Eddie Redmayne.
That's right. Okay, Michael Keaton definitely should have won Best Actor.
Yep.
Emma Stone in a very different performance. She's so good in
Love
that.
her in that role. Edward Norton's great
Edward
in that
Norton's
movie.
really good. And yeah, just there's so many scenes in that movie that I still remember from the scene. One of my favorite scenes is when he's in the bar and he's talking to the critic. That scene I'll always remember.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just the way that, again, a very like different movie. I don't know. Would you guys say it was the front runner for that year?
Well, I don't know. Like
Because
he just said, you also had Boyhood that year, and people were really riding with Boyhood. Then you had the Independent Party with Whiplash. So
yeah, that's right. That's
pretty
right.
tough year.
Yeah, I mean, I think according to betting odds, it was the favorite to win Best Picture by the time that we got to the Oscars. But it did seem like a little bit of an underdog, at least in the lead up to it.
Yeah, I don't know. I love Birdman. I've seen it a couple times, and I don't know. It's just like the energy it brings, and it's obviously it's one of those movies that, as an early movie cinephile, I guess you can say, I had never seen anything very much like it. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Birdman. Art.
Very
Nice.
Break the
very
tie.
difficult decision, because I don't think The Departed is Martin Scorsese's best, but I would watch The Departed right now if I could. It's such an entertaining movie. The direction that he has in there, not only with the characters that he creates and how they go back and forth, and like Zach said, who's hiding what secret, and you notice all these little nuances the second, third, fourth time that you watch it. The thing with the X, what he does with framing the characters, and the X, Birdman, though, has so many crazy theories about, is it all in one person's head and that's why it's shot the way it is, and it's talking about the superego and the id and stuff like that. Maybe we record tomorrow, or maybe I was able to get some fresh air this morning and I may have picked a different decision, but I have to go with Birdman for this one. I think this next one that we're going to do up next may be a little bit more difficult, may not go my way, but
Yeah,
I think
this
Birdman, yeah. The Departed is a remake, and a very great remake.
That's
but
right, yeah.
But Birdman, I think, is just something else, and I think it carries a little something special to it.
Yeah. Well, I'm not upset with Birdman going through, because if that's not the most difficult first round matchup,
It's gotta be
then
this.
Our next one is
Yeah,
I'm not.
this
Hey,
one.
6.
I'm picking first this time.
Okay.
Introduce him. Zach.
The
Introduce
6th
him.
seed is 12 Years a Slave. The 11th seed is No Country for Old Men. Art, take it away.
12 years.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
Really?
It's not an easy decision.
Yeah. Explain a little bit, so maybe I help.
I'm not explaining a damn thing. Go.
What?
I'll explain after you guys cast your votes in. After the second person casts his votes in.
Okay, I'll go second.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. You go second, Zach.
Go second.
For me, I'm not hesitating here. It's No Country for Old Men, and I
Wow.
do it with a heavy heart, because Steve McQueen is my boy. I think he's a director of film, of great cinema. But No Country for Old Men is a pitch perfect movie. Every scene of that film works to complement the next moment. It's just it's a movie that is so tense and thrilling and good from a moment-to-moment basis that it doesn't even need a score, and you don't even miss it. It just like carries you through that story with memorable quotes and memorable characters and great performances. Josh Brolin's never been better. Javier Bardem, probably never been better. Tommy Lee Jones, maybe never been better. Maybe it hasn't been better since The Fugitive. I don't know, but man, that, like, the Coen brothers give us classic after classic after classic, and that might be their best movie. I gotta go No Country for Old Men.
You know what's crazy about 12 Years a Slave is that it's not in competition with a first round thing. This is in competition, and you know it in your hearts, as something that should probably win the tournament. 12 Years a Slave is no joke.
Right.
If we're talking about performances here, I don't think anything other than the supporting from Javier Bardem in No Country for Men, I think competes with it. The Fassbender, Lupita. Those are just the supportings there. The story that we got going on here, the direction that we got going on here, the importance that we got going on here. You know who didn't have to apologize for the ending when they accepted the award for Best Picture? The people for 12 Years a Slave. That's not what happened for the other one. So Fernando, make your pick.
Okay, I'll say. I haven't seen either of these in a minute, but right now on my letterbox, I have them both as 5 stars. They're both 5. I have them as both 5 stars. I think I've made my decision, and it's nothing against either movie. It's mainly because of the fact that the year No Country for Old Men one, I would have picked There Will Be Blood. I like There Will Be Blood a little bit more, so
Zach,
I'm going to go with 12 Years a Slave.
And Zach, you know that. Zach, you know that.
I picked There Will Be Blood too, but No Country for Old Men
won
is
it,
like
yeah.
It's so good.
Great, it's perfect.
All right,
It's so good.
Fernando, this is why you messed up. No Country for Old Men has a genius storyline, in where the actual title is about how this is a story where there's no more happy endings because this ain't no country for old men. There's a great breakdown about this online.
And they say that in the last scene.
It's insane. So I know I used it
scene
for
is
me.
so good.
But Fernando,
The last scene is so good.
You're
I
too
defend
easy.
that last scene.
Dude, when they went up to apologize for the ending, they said, sucks to suck. That's the whole point. If I was going for No Country for Old Men, I would have pitched that as the positive thing. They told people to suck it when they won Best Picture. They said, you don't like our ending, that sucks. Go die, boomer. Pretty much, that's what they said.
All right.
I still like 12 Years, though. I'm kind of happy 12 Years went.
Yeah, unreal to me that No Country for Old Men is out in the
first
first
round.
round, but that's what makes these brackets interesting. You never know when you're gonna go. Shouts to Toy Story 3 and Monsters Inc.
Top two.
Our next matchup, the 7 through 10, is The Artist versus $1 Million Baby.
Slumdog.
The two movies among. Oh yes, shoot. I saw the word million. I just went to $1 Million Baby.
Because it's so memorable.
The Artist versus Slumdog Millionaire. This is the matchup of the two movies I'm probably most ashamed to say that I really, really, really like.
Really? Why are you ashamed?
okay.
Why are you ashamed to say so?
Yeah. Because people clown on them all the time, and this is the thing that I've been talking about on past shows about how it's kind of a curse to win Best Picture, because then you get put onto this like lauded category and you get oversized praise, and like The Artist is not a movie that deserves to win Best Picture. It is a really charming like reinvention, reevaluation of the silent genre, you know? Like I think it's a very charming movie. I don't think I'm going to vote for it here because I think Slumdog Millionaire is a more interesting story. I think it's got more engaging performances from Dev Patel and just the resonance of its story in the way that it's kind of become a verb, like we've talked about how like, oh, it's like a Slumdog type of situation,
Yes.
you know? And
Yes.
I just think for me that maybe puts Slumdog above it, but I like both these movies and I wish they would not be constantly clowned on film Twitter.
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
yeah,
they
I
are a
agree.
lot. You pick Slumdog, though?
Yeah, I'd probably pick Slumdog, yeah.
All right, I'd go Slumdog as well. Interestingly enough, in 08, would you have picked over Slumdog Curious Case of Benjamin Button? The Reader?
Haven't seen it.
Nope.
Milk?
What was it?
No.
Milk? Sean Penn?
Yeah, I've seen it. I don't
No?
think so. Was that
The
a-
only
That's
one-
the closest, but I
Yeah.
would say no.
My closest would have been Frost Nixon. That was my pick for that year. I really enjoyed that one.
Frost Nixon's pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not exactly like a standout year
Yeah.
for Oscars.
I'd pick Slumdog as well. The Artist is good, but I think Moneyball or The Tree of Life should have taken it.
Ooh.
Midnight in Paris. Hey, during 2011, you could have said that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but I also agree with Zach. I really like both of these. So I don't know why they get so much hate. The next one though, I don't know if you guys
Stickers.
are gonna-
Our last matchup of the first round
I don't care.
is the 8 seed, the King's Speech, versus the 9 seed, the Hurt Locker. Go ahead, Art. Hurt me with the Hurt
So
Locker.
the King's
Just hurt.
Speech and the Hurt Locker, to me, when I see those two, I would have seen more excitement if we had Green Book and Crash. I would have more to say about both of them. But and this is as of now. I'm cool with rewatching the King's Speech and Hurt Locker. Man, King's Speech fans more than Hurt Locker fans. They love their movie. They defend it. I'm actually really impressed with that fan base. I don't care for either as of this point in time. Maybe my mind will change in the future. I am open to that. I could not care less for either, but I care even lesser for the Hurt Locker.
I am one of those King's Speech fans. I really like the King's Speech, guys. I think it's really good.
That's good.
I don't know. It's just I don't like. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it in a while.
Oh, they
So
feel like
maybe
you haven't
it's-
seen it at all.
No, so maybe I need to watch it again, and maybe I'll get, now that I've seen like stuff like Parasite. But when I saw it back in the day, I was like,
Or his new
I like
movies like
the
Cats.
performance. Colin Firth, right? He won
Yes.
Best Actor.
Yep.
I think, and also who's the supporting actor? That's not Richard Jenkins.
Jeffrey Rush.
Jeffrey Rush. I loved his character. I thought he was so charming. I was like, man, look at this guy. He's so nice. Helping this. Was he a prince or was he the king?
The king.
The king. He was the one who had the speech impediment.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in a while, but
Yeah, I mean, look,
I really like it.
The King's Speech is it's a perfectly fine movie. I think it also gets lumped into that category with The Artist and Slumdog Millionaire of kind of like unfairly chastised because it beats The Social Network at the Oscars and like how fucking dare you?
Black
it's The Social
Swan,
Network.
Inception, Toy Story 3, Winter's Bone, Social Network. Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on.
But that doesn't mean that The King's Speech is bad.
No.
It's perfectly fine, perfectly charming. It's not like a complicated character study of first line responders the way that The Hurt Locker is. But I think I've been outvoted here.
The
So
only
there's the
thing
thing
I
about the Hurt
remember-
Locker.
The only thing I
What was
remember
it?
about the Hurt Locker is when it won. Well, obviously,
James
first of all, that year, obviously, it was like big because Catherine Bigelow won. Super happy for her and that moment. But when it won Best Picture, just like seeing, especially now since most people know them as superheroes, but seeing like Jeremy Renner and Anthony Mackie just like going, like being so happy, like that's one of the only things I remember. I don't even remember their performances in the movie though.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of The Hurt Locker.
All right.
That was the year Avatar came out, but I thought the funniest, I would have given it to Inglourious that year. But Catherine Bigelow and James Cameron were married, so when she beat James,
Yep.
that was the funniest thing. And then beat him for Best Picture. Fantastic.
Perfect.
So James made 4 other Avatars.
All right, so making. We move on to the second round of our Best Picture bracket.
Terrible.
And now it's Parasite versus The Shape of Water. Fernando, you are probably the biggest Shape of Water fan among us. Are you going to make a case here?
Actually, no, I'm not. No, there's no case to
Yeah.
give. Yeah. Parasite's just
Parasite.
insane.
Yeah. We've talked a lot on this
Masterpiece.
podcast about why we love Parasite. We have a whole Let Us Explain for it there, so you can check that out as well. Moonlight versus Spotlight.
Moonlight.
Which light
Spotlight.
is your guiding light? I don't know.
Moonlight all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Spotlight. I think it's a very strong journalism movie, but it's pretty bland by comparison when you consider the story and the cinematography and just the whole direction of Moonlight. So happy to go Moonlight there. Birdman versus 12 Years a Slave. I think this is going to be hard for Art. I'm
12 Years
curious
a
which way you're
Slave.
going.
Wow.
I mean, you better. We eliminated No Country over this.
12 Years a Slave.
Wow.
I think I might go 12 Years a Slave as
Let's
well
go.
here.
Good.
Dang. Okay.
What would you have
I
given
would
it?
have gone. I would have gone Birdman.
$1 Million
I
Baby?
really.
Good. You like Birdman that much? Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I really love Birdman.
The
But,
thing
I mean,
for me
12
is...
It's close for me.
Yeah, to me, the Birdman, to give it its farewell, is I think that there are points where it gets overly complicated. Even in the theories that people have come up with, there is something in each theory that goes, okay, but now you got to give the artist the liberty that they were going for that theory, and this character would contradict that, because then it doesn't fit the everyone in a mind thing. Whereas something like 12 Years a Slave, there's only one thing I have against... One big thing I have against 12 Years a Slave... but I think Birdman has this reputation of being very pretentious and almost like a barrier to it to embracing its film. That said, though, Zach, you live in New York. When you're able to, when the streets are clear, go to the Rum House where he is with the critic, and he argues with her. The best drinks, all of America, baby, all of America, incredible. The Rum House.
Right, got to keep that one in mind. Our last matchup of the second round is Slumdog Millionaire versus The King's Speech.
King's Speech, just making sure the one that won over Inception, Social Network.
That's not his
Black
fault,
Swan, right?
Art.
No, I was trying to remember which one it was because we were playing off
Yes,
of the
it's
years.
that one.
Slumdog
Tom
Millionaire,
Hooper.
I think to this point makes is one of Danny Boyle's most embraced, most beloved movies. I think it gave us Dev Patel, correct? I'm not mistaken. I really hope
Yes.
I'm not.
He's
And I
super
think
young
like
in that.
yeah, I think this is one. Like think about Green Book and because Crash happened before this win as well. When we talk about movies that get hated when they win, this is still I want to say one of the most beloved. I don't think this gets hated on as much as it gets memed because of the material that it is.
Yeah.
You know? Whereas The King's Speech, what are those movies that he made afterwards? Y'all want to talk about what the
Cats.
directors have made afterwards? Not that always is an inflection of it, but I definitely do think that it comes to... I personally would argue that in terms of the filmmaking, that I think he gets luckier in some shots here because when he tried to replicate similar shots from The King's Speech to other stuff with the way that he uses negative space, Hooper... We saw, we saw the man literally just throw stuff at the wall. So my pick would be Slumdog, but I'm curious, what will go up to the semis for you guys?
I mean, I'm definitely going Slumdog here.
Oh, okay, good.
King's Speech to me is while I think it's like an enjoyable movie, like it's a friendship movie. It's like an odd friends overcoming circumstances. It's kind of Green Book. You know, whereas Slumdog Millionaire has a much more unique structure, a much more unique plot, and I think it's just much more surprising, and the filmmaking is much more exciting to me. I think Danny Boyle is a much more daring filmmaker than Hooper ever is. So, yeah,
That's the Zach I
this is
like.
an easy call to me.
Easy. What about you, Fernando?
No, I'm Team King's Speech, but I can't like disagree. I can't disagree with what you guys are saying.
I'm telling you, King's Speech fans, they're strong.
Yeah, I just have like, but Slumdog is really good and also very charming. And yeah, I gave us Dev Patel, who's awesome. All right.
So the final four. Our first matchup is the two movies that Twitter seems happiest about their winning Best Picture. Basically, the only reason that people think the Oscars are any good in the last 10 years or so.
This should be the...
Parasite versus Moonlight. It's a tough one.
See,
I think, though, if I have to...
No, go.
I have to pick here, if y'all are going to make me go first here... as much as I love Moonlight, and I'm in awe of it as a production, I'm more gripped and entertained by Parasite, and just the way that movie twists and turns. You know, there are two movies that are trying to do very different things, and I think ultimately I'm just a bit more taken by what Parasite is trying to do. I want to go on that journey a little bit more than I want to go on the journey with Moonlight. So I'm going with Parasite.
Yeah,
Fernando?
Moonlight's a beautiful movie, and that year is probably, along with Parasite, probably the two most like iconic Oscar years in recent history, I would say. I think what it gave us Barry Jenkins, like it made Barry Jenkins a household name. Who's a filmmaker that we all love and we all want to see what else he does for the rest of his career. It also gave us some great performances by actors who I don't think were like unknown back then. Trevante Rhodes, I don't remember his name before that. Also Ashton Sanders, who should be getting more work.
More
maybe
than The Equalizer 2.
Yeah.
How about the boy, Jarrell Jerome?
Jarrell Jerome, too. Yeah, I think it's a beautiful movie, but I would go Parasite, too.
I as well would go Parasite. I personally feel Parasite is bang. And I think, give it 5 years, I'm very curious to see how we sit with it, rewatching both of these movies. And because this to me is not... There's no bad thing to say about either movies. These are top tier movies. Yeah. This is the final two. I think we have a decent match coming up, or we have one good one coming up to have a good final round. But this is really the final round. It just has to be the semi ones. Moonlight and Parasite. Moonlight, I think, is not going to be Barry Jenkins' best movie. That's not bashing it.
Really?
I think this man still has potential to make whatever that masterpiece. Not that Moonlight is a masterpiece, but you get what I'm saying, right? I still think he has his best movie in him.
Yeah.
I think this is Bong's best movie. That's me.
That's a lot. Yeah.
All right, so Parasite into the finals, where it will go up against either 12 Years a Slave or Slumdog Millionaire. I think it's going to go up against 12 Years a Slave, though.
So what's the finals?
Parasite versus 12 Years a Slave.
Yep.
Wow.
Art, which way are
You gotta
leaning?
come with me first? I don't know. What I can say is my thoughts. So I obviously have a recency bias when it comes to Parasite, but I think the filmmaking along with the entire production to it, I truly believe as a production, when it comes to Best Picture and all the other categories that lead up in this ceremony to this award, Parasite dominates in almost every way, shape, or form. I think it has an ensemble cast that really holds it very strong. It didn't get the individual love like 12 Years a Slave did, but it was more of a collective. Some of the bits that I would take away from Parasite would just be, without too much spoilers, is some of the thematic stuff towards the second half and discussions that we have had. I think some people may not be the most intrigued by, or I guess the way it plays out when you watch it multiple times, some people would argue that it's manipulated for the story in a sense, I guess. I'm trying to not spoil. Well, one Best Picture, and I'm hoping a lot of people have seen, but for 12 Years a Slave, this is one that I definitely think I can say. We love Brad Pitt. Plan B, Plan Brad. This is one of the first ones, and it took it all the way. And I think he learned right away, I'm going to not cast myself in the movies I should be in, and I'm going to just leave it as that. I think Brad Pitt realized that really quick. He is the worst part of the movie, in my opinion, for 12 Years a Slave. I have to go Parasite. As of right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think...
But
yeah, I mean, Brad Pitt has talked about how I think that was a role that he took basically to help that movie get the financing. So, you know, if it's a trade-off between Brad Pitt shows up as the white savior and we don't get 12 Years a Slave, then, like, you know...
Yeah, it's like Brad Pitt doing that, or Parasite selling the peaches and becoming what it needed to in order for the marketing... for the Oscar marketing. Right. All right, what do you guys say? I picked mine. Now you guys got to do the hard decision.
But I do get that your point is that maybe 12 Years a Slave isn't consistently always great the whole way.
I don't
through,
mean that either.
There are better points.
I don't mean that either. They're both great.
Yeah, no, they're both great movies, and I find it hard to really, you know, put one above the other, because similar to the Parasite Moonlight debate we were just having, these are movies that are trying to do very different things.
Very different.
So you know, it's almost unfair of me to say, like, well, I think Parasite is more fun. You know, like, it's just like not a metric you use to judge 12 Years a Slave. But when it comes to the artistry of the filmmaking, I do think there are things that I'm maybe a little bit more, that have stuck with me a little bit more in Parasite, and maybe that is some recency bias, but I just think the way that movie moves is so impressive to me, and you know, it's something that I've been so eager to recommend to people that I feel like, to me, Parasite takes the number one slot here.
Interesting.
Might not have been the case had we put No Country for Old Men here.
So that's an interesting one, and I want to ask a two-for question right after Fernando answers between Parasite and 12 Years. What would you pick?
Yeah, no, I would go Parasite too. I think 12 Years is an incredible film. I think I'm pretty sure we would all agree it's McQueen's best.
Yes.
Unless you guys.
Yes. I the only thing I would argue is McQueen and Fassbender.
That One Shot in Widows.
Well, the One Shot in Widows, but also like Hunger and Shame.
Yeah, I was going to say both of these. Both of these directors have like great filmographies. I love all of McQueen's films. 12 Years, like, it definitely has. Yeah, it definitely has like that epicness, even though it's like not like a super epic story. Like the scale of it just feels a lot bigger than something like Hunger or Shame. That's like very confined.
For sure.
So, and Parasite also feels like pretty big, even though it also feels contained. Parasite's just like this weird like enigma that's like, how does this work so well, and how does Bond get so much into this little small thing? I don't know. Parasite's incredible. Like, we're gonna be talking about it for a very long time, I'd say.
And I agree the same with 12 Years and a lot of the other ones that I had. Answer me this one: 12 Years, No Country for Old Men. I would still pick 12.
Isn't that what we did in the first round?
Yeah,
Wait, did we?
Yeah, that's what we did in the first round.
I'm a moron. 12 Years and Moonlight. If Moonlight would have done over.
Okay. I think that I would go Moonlight in that situation because I ultimately think I respond a little bit more to the idea of like this personal story than the way that 12 Years a Slave kind of is this like epic, which is extremely impressive. But I really love to get that kind of profile of a person that Moonlight shows. So, it's only for a very personal preference, but I would edge Moonlight out there.
It'd be cool. It's close, but I actually think I'd go 12 Years.
I would go 12 Years slightly a bit as well. But what Zach said holds true.
Yeah.
It just depends what type of story you're going for. And like I said, that's why I said Moonlight, give me like 5 years. Moonlight may be the one that I pick over Parasite. I think top 3 for me personally off of these would be Parasite, 12 Years, and Moonlight. But that's only because we didn't have Green Book.
I throw... and I'll throw No Country into my should have been considered more. But
you see, it still gets mentioned at the end. Fernando, what would have been your 3? Your own personal picks
from these,
off of the 3. Just off these, yeah.
From these, it would have been Parasite.
He said King's Speech, King's Speech, King's Speech.
And King's Speech. Nah, it would have been Parasite, Moonlight, 12 Years. No. Parasite, 12 Years, No Country. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, that was a fun list. List.
So, let us know what would have won in your bracket for the best picture, the best picture, and shoot us an email. Let us know if you have any suggestions for future brackets. We might be doing a lot of these in the coming weeks. We got to figure some things out. But yeah, we're enjoying them so far. We're going to move on to our last segment, the New to See, where we give you some picks for the week, things to watch at home. Art, what is your pick for the week?
We were asked this earlier on what we think the best streaming service is, and Netflix is the biggest bang for your buck, but I honestly highly recommend HBO. There's so much good stuff. Mentioned majority of the stuff they had on there, including High Maintenance. But I think now that the what's it called, McMillions, I think has officially wrapped. So has The Outsider has officially wrapped. Westworld has officially started, and if there's one thing that we all want to follow along together, HBO had us on the last one. With Game of Thrones, I think this is the time that it could carry us through as well.
Hey, I'll jump in and give you one more HBO recommendation. They just started a series called The Plot Against America.
Yes.
And I think this one is co-written by David Simon, the guy who show ran The Wire.
Whoa.
So some good credentials there.
Actually,
a lot of really good actors on this show. It's from my understanding, this is basically like an alternate history. What if a candidate who was a little like the U.S.'s version of a Nazi came into power, or at least was more embraced. I don't know much about the show yet. I haven't watched it, but I know part 1 is available. So I'll hopefully come back next week with some thoughts on that pilot.
This is the Confederate thing that they had going on, right? With the
no, it's not Confederate.
Okay, so
that is long gone project.
Just making sure. All right. The only other 2 I would add, we had mentioned Universal coming out, so that's technically your buying, going to the theater but at home. Invisible Man. Invisible Man is a very, very good movie. If you have the chance to see it in 4K streaming at home, definitely go for that. And Netflix has a show called Dirty Money. It's like a mini doc anthology that talks about like certain scenarios, and I think it's like 5 episodes each season.
Yeah.
This newest one has an episode on Wells Fargo and the Kushners. Bro, these are... You don't need a 2-hour documentary. These are 55-minute chopped up. The Wells Fargo one is stupid, but the Kushner one is stupid. I would highly recommend these. I want to see the other ones. They're very informative. I'll put it that way. And they tell you, they're like, you don't believe us? Search it up. Which, come on. Come on. There's a lot of manipulative documentaries out there, but I highly recommend the series off of the 2 that I saw in the second season that I mentioned. What you guys got?
Very cool.
All right.
Yeah, Fernando, what's up?
Yeah, so to be honest, I'm going to second everything you guys say. I'm not crazy about TV shows, but I feel like I might start something. I want to start Devs. which I recommended last week. Still haven't started it just because I don't know if it's coming out weekly. I think it's coming out weekly.
It
on
should
FX.
be, yeah.
I think it is. Yeah.
No,
So I'm
on
gonna
Hulu.
wait.
It's
On Hulu?
FX on Hulu, meaning that it is premiering
Got you.
weekly like it would on FX, but it's not FX. It's FX on Hulu.
So I think I'm probably going to be catching up on Sundance stuff that is out already. And then I also want to I just want to see like stuff I haven't seen before. So if you guys have any recs of like some of your favorite movies, I think one from Art that I'm really interested in is Into Oblivion. I think that's
Living in
a movie we
Oblivion.
love.
Living in Oblivion. Love it.
Yeah, that
It's fantastic.
I'm gonna see. I've been asking like my friends, like, give me a movie that you really love that I haven't seen. And I think the first one I have to watch is the 73 version of Wicker Man because it's on Netflix.
Ooh.
So I'm watching
It's a good
that.
one.
Yeah.
Hey, catch Candyman if you can.
Interesting.
That's also still on Netflix.
The original?
That one's
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
crazy.
I should, yeah.
Very crazy.
Got you.
I went back after Contagion and watched one of my favorite Steven Soderbergh movies, Out of Sight,
Oh.
just remains like one of the coolest movies ever made.
It's the one with Clooney?
Like that. Yeah, that's a movie where like people point guns at one another and their heart rate like never raises. You know, it's just like a cool movie. It kind of feels like the foundation of the vibe that would become Ocean's 11. So if you're a fan of the Ocean's movies and you've never seen Out of Sight, it's always a good opportunity to go back and catch what I think is J-Lo's best film performance, a great George Clooney performance. That movie is also just stacked with famous people. There's like a one scene Viola Davis cameo before it was like a cameo and it was just like a small role she had. So yeah, just watching for all the recognizable faces. Catherine Keener who pop up is worth your time. And then I second the HBO recommendations because I'm going to be watching some Plot Against America, some Westworld, catching up on some Curb Your Enthusiasm and High Maintenance. There's a lot of good stuff on HBO right now. Not as much on Netflix, actually. I feel like,
Which would be surprising.
Maybe I need to watch. Maybe you need to watch Hentified. Maybe I need to watch
all
On My
3
Block.
seasons of On My Block
Money Heist.
or Money Heist.
Money Heist, right? That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna finally get into Money Heist.
Well,
All right, but I think that's all for this week's show. Catch more from me, Zach Shevich, by following me on Twitter, Instagram, or Letterboxd at ZShevich. That's ZSHEV as in virus, ICH. And then check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/multiplex show. Fernando, where can people find more from you?
You can find me here, and then you can also find me on Twitter at border_logic. And then if you want to follow me on Letterboxd, I think my Letterboxd is Fernando_films.
All right. Art, where can people catch more from you?
You can find me at the A to Z Show or Let Me Explain on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or locked up in my house for the next remaining months. But where I'll be here on
6 to 12
time.
weeks.
Yeah, every week for the Intercut podcast.
Yes, you can catch every episode of the Intercut podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, your favorite podcatcher, whatever that is. I like Overcast. And then watch the video feed on youtube.com/intercutpod, where you can catch our bright smiling faces as we break down the latest in entertainment. If there is latest,
Whatever
we'll talk about whatever's
Whatever
going
there
on.
is.
We'll figure something out. Please send us questions. Find new episodes of Intercut every Friday, as well as our sporadic Let Us Explains. Please leave us a comment, like the video, considering heading over to iTunes to give us a 5-star review, because we are killing it in Kuwait. We are back in the top 10 TV and film podcasts for Kuwait. I don't know how. If you live in Kuwait and listen to us, please identify yourself, because I'm just curious at this point. Like our Facebook, our Instagram, our Twitter pages, all of them are at IntercutPod to get updates throughout the week from Art, from me, from Fernando, from all the guests that we feature here on Intercut. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, practice social distancing, watch some movies.
Amen.